And I'm also wondering, can you guys hear me okay? It looks like my microphone might not be working. Can y'all put it in the chat or the question section there? Actually, I think it just kicked on.
We can hear you, Revis.
All right. Hey, David. All right, cool. Well, I think we'll go ahead and just we'll get started. Again, thank you for joining us today to talk about Win91 Mobile. My name is Stephen Revis. I'm the product manager for Win91 here at SmartSights, and we've also got David Nolan, who's our application engineer for Excel Reporter. So today is all about Win91 Mobile. So we're going to talk about what is Win91 Mobile, go through the architecture and some of the features, and then David will lead us through some use cases and a hands-on demo. And then if you have any questions, please go ahead and you'll notice in the GoToWebinar applet there's a question section. You can type in questions at the end of the presentation. We can go to those and answer questions for you. So you just keep that in mind as we go on. If you have questions, just put them in there and we'll get to them at the end. All right, so what is Win91 Mobile? So Win91 Mobile it's our secure hybrid cloud solution for interacting with alarms and reports, and that facilitates a collaboration among team members to resolve alarm conditions using mobile devices, Android and iOS devices. So essentially it's our Android and iOS notification method. And the way we are doing this is we're using Microsoft Azure Cloud Services. So I want to start that's where I want to start actually with what is Win91 Mobile. I want to start with what are the different components of Win91 Mobile, how do they interact, and how do we secure them. So the first component is your Win91 system. So this is the on-prem piece. This is why I call it a hybrid solution, because you still need to have your Win91 system, and that is for now going to live on for the foreseeable future, going to live on your local network. And that piece is responsible for connecting to your SCADA system, getting the alarms, and then escalating them to your various notification methods. It's also, we're going to talk about this more with David, how you connect your system to an Excel Reporter system. So that's your main system. This is what's always been there. And then you have the Win91 Mobile Web Services. This is the Azure hosted piece. This is a web app that we host in Azure and maintain for our customers, and our customers will connect to that piece, and that is how you will get your system online. And then of course the piece that you're going to send everything to is your Win91 mobile app. This is an iOS app or an Android app. It runs on smartphones, it runs on tablets, whatever device you're using there, we support. So I know this might be a little bit above above the head of some people, but I still get a lot of questions about stuff like this. So I just wanted to go through it and explain how the architecture is kind of working. So if you do have questions about this, hopefully it'll answer those questions for you. So you have those three components that I was just talking about. You've got Win91 on the bottom left, you've got the web app in the middle, and then you've got Win91 Mobile. So we're going to start with Win91. So when you're using Win91 Mobile, you're going to when your Win91 system is going to connect to our web app, it has to get authenticated. So not just anyone can connect to the web app. You have to have an account. So we're using Azure Active Directory, which is now called Microsoft Intra. It's no longer called Azure Active Directory, but I'm still stuck on calling it that. I don't know why. But we'll give you an account on our Win91 Mobile tenant. And this is when you're going to demo it or you purchase Win91. You're going to give you this account, and then you're going to put it into your Win91 system, and it's going to authenticate with our Active Directory tenant, which is win91mobile.com. It's going to give Win91 back an access token, and then with that access token, it can start to connect to our Win91 mobile web app. So now that now that you're authenticated and connected to the web app, you can start utilizing the resources of the web app, and you can start adding people to your systems. Use actual individual users of the app. So a mobile app account is a little bit different than the mobile gateway account that we give you. So we manage that mobile gateway account for you, but the mobile app accounts are owned by the individual users of the app. So rather than receiving a winnow.mobile.com account, you're going to go ahead and create your own Microsoft account. So when a user is added to Win91, when a user is added to Win91, you put in any email address that you want. It could be a Gmail account, it could be a Microsoft account, it could be an Office 365 account, whatever it is. You're going to put it into your Win91 system, and it's going to invite that email account to create a Microsoft account. Again, if it's already a Microsoft account, then it's not going to create a Microsoft account. But then once you do that, it's going to be given permission to access our web app, and then you'll be able to sign in and access that web app. So only the users that you put into your system are going to be able to access Win91 Mobile. If you remove somebody from your system, then they won't be able to access it anymore. So just a little bit more about that. The web app is what's facilitating the connection between your Win91 system and the mobile apps. And I just wanted to point that out because it's important that your mobile apps, your mobile devices don't require inbound access to your network. Rather, both the Win91 system and the mobile apps are communicating only with that web app. So a lot of people think that they need to create an inbound exception for Win91 Mobile, but that is not the case. That's because connections to the web app are outbound initiated. They use HTTPS as well. So again, this means that we're not listening for inbound connections. Win91 will go to the cloud, initiate the connection, and then, because it's an outbound initiated connection, you're not having to create firewall exceptions or forward any kind of ports. And of course, that really depends on your network. For most networks, you don't have to do anything like that. But there are some, we have found over the years, there are some systems where you have to be a little more particular about what your network setup is going to look like. Again, and the apps that can access your system are only if the account they log in with are still in your configuration. If you remove a user from your system, they no longer have access to your Win91 system, and that takes effect immediately. So if you need to remove somebody, as soon as you hit the delete button, they no longer have access. And we don't store any of your private data online. Everything is stored on your local Win91 SQL instance. So all your alarm history, all that kind of stuff, that is stored locally, local to you. So we don't own any of that. Now, in some cases, you need to have, for the most part, obviously Win91 needs access to the internet, and sometimes your Win91 system doesn't have direct access to the internet, and that is why we have something called the Win91 Mobile Hub. So if you don't have internet access, this is a utility that can be installed on a different network layer, such as your business layer or DMZ, and then you then point Win91 to that hub, and it serves as kind of a proxy for access to the web or Azure. If you have multiple Win91 systems in your network, they can use that same instance of the hub, so you don't have to have several different copies of this hub running. Let's say you have 3 different Win91 systems, they can all point to the same hub to get out to the internet. Again, it's all outbound initiated, so you still don't need to do any port forwarding from the hub to the internet. However, the connection from Win91 to the hub, you may need to make some network adjustments for that, and we have documentation for all of that. But it uses all the same kind of connections that the main Win91 Mobile module uses. So here's kind of an example, a diagram of what that looks like. You've got the Win91 system right here. Now, you could go directly to the internet in some cases. Some cases that's okay, but a lot of cases that's not okay. And if that's not okay, then you install this Win91 Mobile piece. Hopefully you can see my mouse. You get the Win91 Mobile piece right here. So then Win91 will connect to that, and then that will connect to the internet. So you're not directly exposing your plant network to the internet. So a lot of people are taking advantage of this particular piece. So I will go ahead and now I'll start going through the individual features of Win911 Mobile, and then we'll hand it over to David for some use cases and a demo. All right, so the main purpose of Win911 Mobile is to get alarm notifications, and the way we do that is with push notifications. and that will notify you if there's an alarm, a report update, or a chat update. And it shows up on your phone similar to, a text message notification or anything like that. The pushes allow you to view the alarm information without opening the app. You can see in the screenshot there, I've got several different alarms that came through. The top one's going to show you some of the descriptions. If you have a smartwatch, you'll also be able to see the push notifications on there. You can choose your push notification sounds. With iOS, we're a little limited there, so we have to pre-package the sounds that are available for iOS. But for Android users, you're free to choose any sound that you like. It can be MP3s, it could be WAV files, whatever will work on your phone. You'll be able to select those for push notifications for your Android device. But for the iOS device, we have packed in some very loud and obnoxious sounds that should wake you up in the middle of the night. And let's say you don't want to get push notifications for some particular time. Well, we've added this feature that we're calling Do Not Disturb mode. This will allow you to temporarily suspend the pushes to your device. When you're setting it, you have to set a date and time that you want to resume notifications. So you can't just put yourself in Do Not Disturb mode forever. And you also other team members on the system will be able to see that you're in Do Not Disturb mode as well. And I'll show you more of that on another slide. So if you want to disable pushes without having to go into the settings of your mobile OS, well, it's built into the app, so you can set it there. And then there's the alarm summary. The alarm summary is where you got the push notification, you tapped on it, it's going to open up the app, and now you're looking at the alarms. You're going to look at the alarms that are on your system. So this is just going to show you the alarms that have been sent to you. And it's a live summary list. So as the alarms change state, it will update right in front of you. You can modify the format of the screen. I've got a format tab. I'll show you a slide that I'll show you what the format editing looks like. So these are all the alarms that have been sent to you. This is the Android view, and this is what it looks like on an iOS device. It's a little bit different. We tried to use the styling format for each different mobile device. So iOS screens look like iOS and Android looks like Android. Once you tap on one of those alarms, you're going to get to the event screen. The event screen is what shows you the actual update, the details of the alarm. So in this case, you can see the alarm state, you can see the tag, the name of the alarm or the description, and you have a bunch of different variables that you can enable or disable. And in this case, there's only a few turned on, and you can see those. But you'll be able to see, you can see the top update is where it's gone inactive, and the bottom update is where it's gone inactive. And so you can see per that lifetime what alarm states have occurred. And this is what it looks like on an iOS device, so it looks just a little bit different. Acknowledgement. So you get the alarm, you want to acknowledge it. Well, you can do that through the mobile app. So you can also include the optional alarm comment that you can in the Win911 Control Center. You can also act multiple alarms if you don't want to go one by one. So you can see it got acknowledged there. You can act multiple alarms at once and then hit the act button, and it will acknowledge all of those for you. And you can see it'll also tell you who acknowledged the alarm. You can see the actor. Here is this demo user for this screenshot that I took a long time ago. One last thing is if you don't want users to be able to acknowledge alarms, you can turn that off within the Win911 settings. So that's an optional thing. So if you don't want users to be able to act alarms, so you can disable that. We also built in a chat feature. So this allows you to talk to the different users that have received the alarm. So it's within the context of that particular alarm. If someone chats you, you'll get a push notification letting you know that, hey, there's a chat message waiting for you. And when that alarm instance goes away, the chat goes away. So the chat is only within the instance of that one particular alarm lifetime. And then you've got team visibility. So the last option for when you're looking at the details of an alarm. This will show you who the alarm has been sent to. And if you tap on it, I don't know if I have a screenshot for that actually. No, I don't. But if you tap on one of those, it will show you what time they were sent the alarm, what time, and you can see who's seen it by the eyeball icon that's on the right. And if they're on do not disturb mode, there's an icon for that as well. But again, if you tap on the name, it'll actually show you when they were sent the alarm, when they acknowledged the alarm, if they did acknowledge it, and the last time they viewed the alarm as well. So you can see all those details about each individual person that looked at it. All right, so that's how you interact with the individual alarms that come into the live monitor view. Now, if you want to go back and look at some old alarms, we've built in an alarm history feature. This allows you to access alarms from up to 31 days. This is something you have to turn on within your Win911 system. And it only lets you see the alarms that were sent to you. You can filter. So this is what the alarm history looks like. You can filter your request for the history that you're looking for. So that's what the history looks like. When you're requesting the history, you can say, give me the history from this time to this time. And you can also, you can see the different options that are there. Like maybe I only want alarms that are greater than or equal to 500. And you can put different labels onto it. So if you only want lift station number 22 alarms, you can send that request in and it will send it back to you. So that alarm history is there. After 31 days, that history starts to roll off and then you can no longer access it. If you do need to access longer history than that, it'll be available on the actual machine Win911 is running on. We've also added the ability to edit your call out list directly from the mobile app. So if you want to change your call out order, you can go into the mobile app, choose your notification policy that you want to edit, and then you'll see everybody that's going to be notified for that particular call out list, and you can rearrange it, you can remove people, you can edit some delays and loops and that kind of stuff. So here I'm gonna select somebody. If I was sort for and find Jeremiah, who's a product support manager, add him in, and he will be added into that list. So you can do that from the mobile app. You don't have to go to your main Win911 system anymore. So if you're a manager and you want to make changes to your call out list, you can do that directly from the app. This is also a feature that can be turned on and off from the Win911 system. So if there are some people you don't want to be able to make these changes to the call out list, then you can disable it. You can also make changes to your schedules for the individual people that are on your in your system. So you'd go to this connections tab and you can change their schedule and you can change the roles that someone is assigned to. So if you're taking advantage of the workflows, then that's why you'd want to make changes to their roles. But if you want to control who's receiving notifications directly from the mobile app, then you can change that by changing their schedule from never to always and back and forth and so on. And then there's a reporting feature. So this is the basic reporting functionality of Win911. So these basic reports allow you to see just the real-time values of a tag. We've added in, and this is what David will talk to you more about. We've added in the ability to view Excel reporter reports. So these reports, if you have them configured, then when you run one, it'll show you a tag and it will show you the description, whatever you choose in your format. But more importantly, it's going to show you the value of that tag, and it will request those in real-time value, in real time. But again, we've got more advanced reports that we'll talk about in a little bit. There's a format editor. This is a piece where you're allowed to, where you can change what you're going to view for the alarm summary, the alarm details, or the report details. So you could just go into here and you can move things up and down in the list or disable and enable items from the X and the plus icons on the left side. Let's see. And we've got alarm requests as well. Alarm requests allow you to request alarms by their state, severity, or alarm label. So if you come onto a shift, for example, let's say it's 8 a.m. You weren't sent any alarms, obviously, because you weren't working, and you want to get a snapshot of what's going on with the system. You can do an alarm request. It'll give you all the active alarms, or however you filter it. It'll give you those active alarms onto your system so you can see what's going on at that particular time. And if you are connected to multiple systems, then you'll be able to specify which system that's going to be to. So by default, you can request alarms from all the systems. Otherwise, you can choose an individual site that you want to request from. You can also specify even further by choosing which label you want to select. You'll get the request back, and then you can interact with those alarms as you normally would. All right, the last thing I'll talk about before I hand it over to David is multiple sites. So within the Win911 mobile app, you can connect to multiple Win911 systems. So if you've got a water plant and a wastewater treatment plant, and you want to access both of them from one mobile app, you can do that. You just need to add that same email address that you used when you created this mobile contact to both systems. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to see both systems in your mobile app. So you can see I've got the demo site here and a beta site that I created when I took the screenshot. All the different systems that you're going to be a member of will show up there, and you can turn them on and off with that toggle switch. You can also do that in iOS. It looks a little bit different, of course, but you got to go into settings to see that. So if you want to be a member of multiple systems, then you can. I've seen our users be a member of 10 or more Win911 mobile systems. So if you're a system integrator and you want to keep an eye on your customer systems, you can do that. Or if you just have multiple Win911 systems within your organization that you want to be a member of, then you can do that as well. All right, so those are the features of Win911 Mobile, the core features of Win911 Mobile I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to hand it over to David. He's going to talk about some use cases and run us through a demo. So David, I'm going to switch over to you as a presenter.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephen.
And
here we go. I can show my screen. And we want screen 2, not my desktop with all my messy icons all over it. And so now, to this point, everything that Stephen's kind of been sharing has been related to using Win911 Mobile with Win911 installation sort of acting as a standalone solution. And so what we're going to go over now is implementing the SmartSights bundle, which includes both Win911 and Excel Reporter, and some of the advantages that will give you in terms of the information you're able to access in your mobile app and the information you're able to relay to your alarm recipients. So we're talking about relating process data to alarm notifications, right, that are going out in the mobile app. And so how this works is when you add data notifications, it requires an Excel Reporter installation as part of that SmartSights bundle, and that system can connect to the in-plant data sources, right? We're talking about PLCs, HMI data logs, historians, relational databases. We support over 80 different data sources from all the leading HMI SCADA vendors that Win911 supports, as well as open standards like OPC, HDA, UAHA, OLEDB, ODBC, and so on. And in general, with this reporting tool, you can access out-of-box report templates, right, that are designed to go along with these process alarms, or you can design your own templates using either an Excel add-in or a standalone environment. And then the goal of this being to distribute access to these reports and dashboards either on demand or along with a notification inside the Win911 mobile app. So some examples of how we would do this. Right, are using out-of-box templates that are packed in with Excel Reporter. And you can see an example of this on the right-hand side of the slide, where we've included some push report templates that are designed to work with Win911. This one here in the screenshot is, for example, an alarm lead-up trend, right? So when an alarm happens, we not only want to tell the recipient that it's happened, we want to include some context as to what's been going on, both with the alarm tag and some other related variables leading up to the time of the alarm. So this is relaying information, for example, like if you have a high or a low tank alarm, right? You might want to know that alarms, that the value's sort of been steadily trickling down or up, or if it's actually, experienced some volatility, if there's other disturbances happening on a related parameter like a pressure or a temperature. This gives you more information on the root cause of the alarm, understanding what's happening, helps you solve the alarm or resolve the condition more effectively. There are also configurable templates. Right, so this is sort of going into different use cases of one, incident reports, right? That, like the example that we just went over. When an alarm condition happens, what is the information we want to arm the responder with to help them? From the mobile app, you can also access dashboards, right? That summarize alarm activity, summarize process activity. Think of checking building energy systems, checking the overall OEE or production line, things like that. And there are event reports, right, where we're sort of using Win 911 and the reporting tool Excel Reporter a little more actively, say to monitor a discrete process, right? So Win 911 will be notifying people when that process is starting or stopping, when it's entering different steps or phases, when there are deviations or alarms that are happening. And then Excel Reporter is providing a sort of a detailed look into that process that tells you everything that's been going on, say in that particular production run. What are the key trends? What are the key KPIs for production? What are all the alarm events and set point changes that could be happening inside that process? So it's just sort of three different use cases, right? Helping people respond to alarms, just bringing greater visibility to process data into the mobile app, and using a sort of a 1-2 punch to monitor, very actively the progress of a discrete process inside the plant. In terms of being able to deliver mobile dashboards, this is the second use case, so maybe my slides are a bit out of order, but the monitoring mobile dashboards is very simple. You can define a template inside of Excel Reporter. You open up Win 911, you tell it where your Excel Reporter system is. It can be on the same system as Win 911, or it can be around the network. You select from available reports from a list, and you add them into your reports list in Win 911, and these are the reports that mobile app users will be able to see and select from and generate inside their app. We can deliver data with notifications. So this is going back to the first use case we talked about, the incident report. We kind of talked about how the report is framed, what information are we going to deliver when an alarm happens. On the Win 911 side, we're deciding how that information is going to be relayed to people. So if we look inside of this flow chart, this is a Win 911 advanced notification policy, and this is basically a flow chart of how we respond to an alarm. So if an alarm is happening on a particular schedule or in a particular area, then it must be an alarm that's going to need a process report, so we can send one along with the notification. And if it's a different alarm or conditions happening that doesn't require a report, we don't have to send one, or we could send a different report, send it to a different person, or so on. This designer allows you to define, when you want to send a report, which one you're going to send, who it goes to, and how, either by mobile or by email. So the user experience, and we'll kind of look at this more hands-on in a bit. This is the Android app here, similar to what Stephen was showing a moment ago, where you can view and acknowledge and consume alarm information. You can also access reports, so you can check what's going on inside that discrete process. Check on the behavior and trends in the building energy system. Check a detailed process audit result of a sort of a pass-fail validation with detailed information behind it. Or you can check on the alarm, the health of the alarm system itself. Really, this is completely configurable, so you can use any of these out-of-box reports that I've shown here, or you can configure something completely tailored to a specific process or a specific alarm condition and make that available inside the app. And as Stephen also mentioned, you can consume these reports from the SCADA data at multiple sites if you have those sites all connected inside your mobile app. So now I'm going to kind of transition to some hands-on. We can kind of take a look at both the mobile app in general and what integrating some of these reports actually looks like to a user. So let me bring my iPad onto the screen here. We can also do everything I'm showing on a phone. I typically find that sharing the tablet screen is just a bit better presentation fodder. So what we're looking at is the iPad version of the Win 911 mobile app. And we can see in here, right, that all of my active alarms, right, are being displayed on the left. We can see different states of these alarms, right? We have inactive, unacknowledged, active, unacknowledged. We have some alarms that are active and acknowledged, and some alarms that are active and acknowledged with a message that's been sent by a user. So we can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, this is the syrup level alarm in my food and beverage process that's been sent and is in the active acknowledged state. So we can see the history of the event itself, basically what the state of the tag is when the alarm went off, history of other times it's gone off. We can see, as Stephen mentioned, the list of people who have been sent the alarm and who has seen it. So we can see, for example, in here that Mike Bradley has been sent the alarm yesterday around 1 p.m., but he hasn't opened his app and checked it. But we do, I've seen the alarm when it was, relative to when it was sent, and I can look at, the last time I viewed this particular notification, and we can also chat between each other. So all three of the people on that list will see these messages, so they know, for example, yesterday at 1 that I was responding to that alarm, for example. So within this app, not only can we see reports or see alarms, we can also see reports, right? And so, for example, the very basic use case here being the on-demand dashboard here for my OEE data, right? I can come in here and check this, and I can see within the last 24 hours, what my OEE score is, which is basically a rating of how effective and efficient your process is based on how much time you're running and what you're outputting and what the quality is. It reduces that information to a score. And we also can see the detailed information behind it, how many units this has produced, how many we've wasted, what our planned uptime and downtime is, and what our ideal and real speed is. And so in this case, we can see that we're doing really well, right? We haven't we haven't wasted, we haven't had any rejected output from this machine. We haven't had any unplanned downtime, but we're only performing at 80% of our speed, which has hit our OEE and taken us down, for example. So this is just one example of the kind of information you'd convey on a dashboard. It's not relevant to any particular alarm, say, but if your process is experiencing a lot of alarms, right, you may have some downtime that's going to affect these scores. So this is, our dashboard use case where we're not looking at a particular alarm, but we're looking at maybe how the whole state of the alarm system could be affecting the process. The next thing we're going to look at is an incident report, right? So when an alarm happens in my reactor, we're going to push a diagnostic report that sort of tells us what's happening inside of that process. And to do that, I'm going to change over to my HMI screen here, and you can see this is a very old Aviva InTouch application, but it has to do with I believe it's probably a food and beverage plant where we're mixing concentrate and water to make a product and sending it out to a storage tank. And the storage tank is sort of operating in some normal thresholds in terms of a high and low level. And if they say inadvertently dump this tank out to the floor, right, we're going to cause some alarms to go off. And let's just say while we're doing that, there's other things happening in the process, right? We can go and maybe we adjust the batch concentration. Maybe we go and we change the conveyor speed. We stop the conveyor. I've got to actually move this thing so I can actually see this. Here we go. We can say stop the conveyor in the middle of this process. We go back to the reactor and we continue draining that out to the floor. And the idea here isn't just to flip around to different screens. It's just to convey that we're actually experiencing multiple different problems going on in this process at the same time. And so when this tank dropped to 0, right, we'll get a low product storage alarm that will have pushed a notification over to our mobile app. And if we come back over to the reactor diagnostic trend report here, right, we can see the history of all the stuff I've been messing with inside of this process, right? We can see that the temperatures are still good inside both these reactors and the storage, but we can see that time frame when I just drained that tank out to the floor. We can see the concentrate set point being raised up to 80, and we can see the conveyor belt speed being dropped down to 0. And we can see when all those things happened relative to each other, right? We started draining the tank right about at this point in time. We then went and messed with the concentration level, and then we went and changed the conveyor speed. So we get an idea sort of all together in the timeline of what's happening in this process, how all these things, were related to each other, or correlated at least in time. The next thing that we're going to look at here is the third use case that we mentioned, which was the monitoring of a discrete process, as that's starting and as it's stopping. And so I'm going to go over to a different HMI screen here. This one happens to be a Rockwell factory talk, but it's monitoring, say, a batch-based process, right, where we're putting in a batch ID and we're looking at the production, right, the output of the product into these different tanks. And so, say we go and enter in a batch ID on this screen here, and then we go ahead and start up our batch. So as we do that, we will be notified within Win911 that this batch is starting. We can see that if we go back into the app here, we can see that we did just start a batch here, batch status, batch 2024, April 3rd, batch 3, right? So we got notified that that batch has started. Now we can go and say, start manipulating the process here as if we're, say, producing some product. So maybe we'll go and we'll drain some product out of tank 2 here. We'll send it through our mixer and we'll put it out into the output tank here, which is tank 4. So now if I go over back into my app, I can actually check on this process as it's going on. So if I bring that back up on my screen here, right, we can see that we've started the batch, right? It's been active for about 51 seconds, and we haven't had any, say, alarm activities, say, happening inside of that batch to this point. Now maybe I'll go and say, I'll acknowledge that that event has happened here inside my app. So we'll go back over, and we will, say, find that batch status event and just acknowledge right, that it's occurring from within the app here. And then maybe we'll go manipulate a few more values inside of the process here. We'll drain maybe 10 gallons of product out of tank 3. Oops. And we'll say that due to some problem in the process, maybe only 5 of those gallons made it out into tank 4. And all this will be reflected in the end when this report is produced. Now, while this is ongoing, we can actually kind of take a look at a bit about how these things are put together from the configuration standpoint in Win911. So let me go over to a different display here, which is my SmartSights bundle system, which has Win911 and Excel Reporter on it. And we can see that as this is, all these alarms are ongoing, right? We can see all the alarms you looked at in the app here in this localized control center. I kind of wanted to talk about how we made those different reports available to the mobile app users. And for that, we'll go into the Win911 workspace. And so here, how this works, right? How we relay the notifications out to mobile users is you have the concept of a contact directory. And so within the contact directory, right, you have different people. You have their permission level, right? So we know whether they can acknowledge alarms. We also have the concept of their ability to manipulate the mobile workspace. So we can program each user's ability to edit, say, their schedules and things like that for the mobile app. We have the schedule for that person, right? So for example, Torsten here is always on the clock, but Mike Bradley only works on the weekends. that's probably why he didn't acknowledge that alarm that we sent him. And Dylan works the weekdays, so he probably has no excuse as to why why he didn't acknowledge it. And we have different roles, right? We have a manager operator role, and these all come into play in the notification policies and alarm response in terms of, who is notified when different alarms happen. So you have the concept of your contact directory, who is involved in the alarm notification system, what is their schedule, what's their role, and what's their sort of permission level. Beyond that, we have the concept of an alarm connection, right? So if we look back to that factory talk AE system that we were just looking at, manipulating the start and stop of the process, we've got a couple different alarm subscriptions, right? And so we have an alarm subscription for the tanks, right? Anytime a tank level goes low or high, we'll kick off, one sort of response logic. Anytime there's a alarm related to the batch status, we'll kick off a different response. Right. So what do these responses look like? Right. These are the notification policies, and they come in two different flavors. So there's a basic flavor, which is a call out list, right? So we have the 3 people we saw inside the mobile app there, and anytime there's an alarm that kicks off this policy, it's going to notify me, wait 1 minute, notify Mr. Bradley, and then wait another minute and notify Mr. Schmidt. And if nobody answers the alarm, we're just going to keep repeating this process every 1 minute until somebody responds to it. Now we could also just say we want to repeat it, a certain number of times, for example. And we can go and we can change the order of these, right? We can change who is the first person in the call out list. We can also do this from the mobile app as well, but this is basically your basic notification policy, right? Which is a call out list, which we decide, what order we're going to call in. We can say it's going to adhere to their schedules, and we can program how many times it's going to repeat, for example. The other flavor of notification policy is advanced, right? So these advanced policies, they allow you to, or would allow you to push the reports to people, right? So these, for example, if we look at plant 31 production, right? This is the one that we looked at the Aviva screen when we had our conveyor speed and our batch concentration and our storage tank level. So within this response, we can say when the alarm is first received, right? We're just going to notify all operators, and we're going to push a report, reactor diagnostic, to David Nolan, because maybe he's the technician who's going to fix the problem with the tank valve or something like that. And so that's really the idea behind these advanced notifications. We don't really have to have, branching logic and things like that we saw inside of the slide portion of the presentation. But these advanced policies are what enable the pushing of reports to people via the mobile app or by email. And when we do this, we can configure the report, right? We can say, this is the report that I want to send, and here's who I want to send it to. So that's part of that push report block you get inside the policy editor. Now we can also do branching logic, right? And if we look at the production events inside of the factory talk system, right, we're monitoring the start and stop of the batch. Oops. Bring this up here. We can say, for example, when the batch is first received, right, we're going to go to the default call out logic, and then we'll say, maybe when it changes state, right, we'll do something else, and when it goes terminal, right, we'll kick off that call out the workflow product batch. So if we go and edit this one, we can see that this one does have a little bit of branching logic in it, right? We can see that if it's changing state and it is still in an active state, right, we're just going to notify people. If it's changed state to an inactive state, i.e. the batch has ended, we're going to push a discrete process report to me by mobile and by email. And so this particular report, we can kind of take a look and check on it here now. I go into my discrete process area. Right, we can see this batch is ongoing, and we're down, right, the 5 we're down the 5 gallons of product that we lost when we transferred from one tank to the other. We can see a history of all the transferring that's been going on between the tanks. We can see a history of all the alarms that have been going on. We can see a history of all the tabular data that's been occurring throughout the batch as well. And we'd also be able to see this from the mobile app as well. I can bring that back onto the screen here. And this is what that report would look like from our iPad. Well, I think that pretty much takes me through what I wanted to show with regard to the adding insights into our Win911 mobile app. Certainly, this is a very useful application just for the alarm notification piece itself, right? We have interactive chatting. We can see who has seen alarms, who hasn't. We can acknowledge, just by tapping a button back into the HMI, and it's sort of a more robust, right, way to consume notifications, right, in a more collaborative manner than, say, just receiving a text message or receiving a phone call. But then when we add in Excel Reporter via the SmartSights bundle, we also get, the ability to provide increased context, just provide dashboards and get increased, visibility to process data inside the plants, and then also use this thing to sort of monitor, critical processes in real time, so we can see, when they're changing state, when they're starting or stopping, and any kind of key trends and problems that could be happening there. So that's all I had for the hands-on portion. So I think we'll kind of take a few minutes here to address any questions maybe that have come from the audience, if we have any.
Yeah, so just a reminder, if you guys do have a question, put it in the questions portion of GoToWebinar. We've got one question so far from Hannah, and her question is, if we have multiple Win911 systems due to having multiple data sources, can they all leverage a single instance of the mobile app? So yeah, I think you probably asked that before I covered it there, but yeah, you can. You absolutely can. So when if you have multiple Win911 systems, and let's say I don't know why you have what the reason for the different data sources, maybe it's a factory talk system and they're all in different directories. Well, each one of those Win911 systems can point you can configure them with the same email address. So like in David's deal here, he's signed in with his account. So if he goes to settings, go to settings there, David, if you can, you can see, scroll down to sign out. You'll see that he's signed in with his log out of David Nolan at SmartSights.com. So if you take that account and go put it in other Win911 systems, he will then have access to those other Win911 systems from in this mobile app. So you can, again, you can have, I don't know what the max number is, but I've seen, like I've said, I've seen customers with 10 to 15 different Win911 systems, and that's usually a system integrator who's keeping track of multiple systems. So you would essentially duplicate this entry of David here on your other Win911 system, and then it would become available in your Win911 mobile app. So you can definitely
just by adding them in here on different sites. When you open Win911 mobile, you'll see all the sites you've been added as a contact to, right, Stephen?
Yeah, when you open up Win911 mobile, so in your case, you only had the one, so it'll only show your, I don't know what you're calling this system. But you can, yeah, so SmartSights Boston. So each individual Win911 system can have its own name. In this case, David called his Win911 system SmartSights Boston. So if he was, let's say I had a Win911 system and I wanted to add David to it, I could call mine SmartSights Austin, since I'm in Austin and he's in Boston. So you can have you can definitely have multiple systems in your Win911 mobile app. Looks like that's the only question we've got. If you think of anything else, feel free to reach out to our sales team. You can get their contact info off of our website at smartsights.com, or just email sales@smartsights.com. And also, if you have questions for myself or David, feel free to reach out to us directly if you need to. Thank you everyone for attending. There will be a recording of this if you need to reference it later up on our website in a little bit. Thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Have a good day.